Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Toasty Tentacle. I'm your host, the Irreverend Ellsworth. I am joined today by comedian Johnny Hobbs. Say hi to the folks, Johnny.
Hi, everybody. How are
Hi,
you, sir?
folks. Johnny, so now you and I don't know that we've actually performed on the same stage, but we have kind of run in the same circles.
Yep,
Uh,
yep.
tell us a little bit about how you got started in comedy.
Kind of on a whim, actually. It was one of those curiosity things. Um, Always drove by the comedy club, and just was always thinking about it. And then my wife at the time actually called to set up like a booking, and they had open mic. And she called and she called me back and she goes, "You're booked." And I was like, "Whoa, I don't even have any material written." And I didn't. And I had about 6 weeks to prepare. And I went up. Matter of fact, next month will be my 18th year. August 11th will be 18 years. Yeah.
Well done.
And the first time, terrified, and it just got obviously better after that. But yeah, so that was how I kind of got into it. And I tell you, it's truly one of those things where the first laugh I got, I was immediately hooked. And because most people do it for the experience, like, I'm just gonna do it one time, just to say I did it and stuff. And that was kind of 50-50 with me. I mean, I was 50% like I wanted to just do it for the experience, and 50% like, well, maybe I could pursue this. But yeah, you get that first laugh, you're hooked.
Yeah.
And so that's how it all kind of started.
Oh, that's nice. Now, how much time did you have on your first open mic? Do you remember?
5 minutes, and it felt like 5 hours. It was the first joke, I swear to God, the first joke I did, like, bombed. Like, nobody was laughing. I'm going, oh my
Right.
God. And you start to just totally panic. And then I remember the second joke I got into, and it got a huge response. And of course, the thing about comedy is, I hope we can kind of get into this a little bit about it, but you're feeding off that energy in the audience. And so when you get that laugh, it was like I was re-energized, and then the confidence started kicking in. And still nervous, still scared, but I got through it and got a great response. And so 18 years later, still kind of not doing it right now, but still out there doing it. So
Sure. Very good. Very good. Yeah, there's something really powerful. That first laugh you get, that first time you turn an entire audience to connect with you mentally. That is some powerful stuff. So, what would you say? Let's talk about your comedy greats. What would you say your largest audience to date has been?
the largest one I was in front of, there's a good side to this and a bad side to this. I actually had the opportunity to work the City Walk Jazz Club at Universal Studios.
Wow.
And yeah. And this was, I think, about maybe 10 years ago. And it was spring break week. And we did one show Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And Thursday show was pretty decent. Friday show, I had spent the day at Universal. 450 people in this room, balcony, everything. And I'm just burnt. And the crowd is not on my side. And so about 10 minutes in, my wireless mic cuts out. And about 10 people in this audience were like, yeah, clapping. I'm like, all right, plowed through, because that's what I was getting paid to do. Next night, same thing, huge crowd. But it was an older crowd. They were more on my side. The Friday night was the spring breakers. I wasn't connecting with them. And comedy is about likability too. Not that I'm a mean person on stage or anything else, but that audience has got to connect with you, and they've got to like you. So likability is a big factor. And whether you're, in front of a younger crowd, older crowd, likability is huge. And so the Saturday night crowd was more on my side. And even the headliner, I was actually the opening act. Even the headliner came up to me afterwards. He goes, yeah, last night they belonged to me. Tonight they belong to you. So that's how it
Wow.
works, But it was still like 400, 450 people. That's about the biggest crowd I've ever been in front of. So.
Wow. That's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Now did you notice that you had less time for your material because you had to allow so much more time for their laughter, their response, that kind of thing?
They always tell you that, like when you first start out, you're always given like 5 minutes, but they always tell you to write for 4 minutes, because you want to make sure that you're leaving enough room just in case you hit it, just in case your stuff is hitting, and you're getting those laughs. But when you're in front of an audience that isn't laughing, now you have to find things to stretch. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, let me tell you about my day or whatever. I mean, so it's just yeah, but always, it's like the Boy Scouts. Be prepared. So.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. I that's an often answer of mine whenever somebody says, "So how much time can you do?" And I say, well, it depends. If the audience is feeling me, I got 45 minutes to an hour. If they're not feeling me, I got about 5 minutes, just
Exactly.
5 hot minutes.
Well, I worked with a headliner one time. He was asking me, how much time are you going to do? And I said, well, I'll tell you, if I'm killing, I'm going to do 25. If I'm sucking, I'm going to do 20. And he goes, no, reverse that. He goes, if you're killing, do 20. If you're sucking, do 25. He goes, always leave them wanting more. He goes, bring them up. And then if you got them up here, don't get cocky and don't get greedy, just say good night. And he goes, if you're sucking, he goes, do the extra 5 minutes, throw some new material in there. He goes, at that point, what difference does it make? And he goes, maybe the new material might actually hit. So
This is a car wreck. Just do what you do. Just
yeah.
practice. It's fine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are the hard nights. But I still maintain that even though a really good night of killing it is the cherry, you don't learn from those nights. You only learn on the nights when you eat it,
That's right.
over and over and over. And you're just like, these jokes aren't hitting. These people aren't feeling it. I think that's when you grow as a comedian.
Absolutely. I mean, because if you don't fail, then you don't learn anything.
True.
If you're having, I mean, I've been in it long enough to know, to ride those good shows and to know I'm only as good as my last show. Like if I play, a town and I'm just, I just wreck the weekend, man. I just go in there and destroy. I know that the next weekend I'm in another town and they might not be as receptive. So I don't carry that show with me. Like, oh,
Good.
last week I killed in Tallahassee, so I'm in Atlanta this week and it's like, now I'm going to kill again. I just go in there with a blank slate. Like, I'm just going to, no expectations, just go in there with no expectations and don't always expect, the great show, because it's not always going to happen. I've seen guys 25 years in, way longer than me, and have just horrible nights. So it's there, it happens.
Well, people don't understand that comedy works so much, not just because of the comedian, but it's also the environment. Like some of the best comedy clubs feel kind of like seedy back rooms. They're kind of dark,
Right,
they're kind of comfortable, they're close. Some
right.
people, they're like, oh, I want an auditorium. No, you don't want an auditorium. You want cozy. You want cozy. I don't care if there's 300 or 30 people in there. If it's cozy,
Yeah.
then you can get somewhere with them. But otherwise, it's
The,
just
the word is actually intimate. You want an
intimate. Yes,
intimate
intimate.
crowd, because it's funny you bring that up, because there was a club I worked in Melbourne, Florida, a few years back, several years ago. And Friday night, this was a room that held about 225 people. And Friday night, I think we had maybe 40 people in that room. So 20%, the room was filled. And they were a dynamite audience, dynamite audience. Now, the next night, jam packed, standing room only, over 200 people. And they were terrible. So, you know what I mean? Because some people look at it and go, wow, that's a great, look at that crowd. They go, I've seen big crowds just be just the worst crowds.
Yeah.
And I'd rather play in front of 10 people who are really enjoying themselves as opposed to 500 people who are just like going, get off the stage, dude, so.
I've had that. I've had where you lose the audience. You're just like, hey, how's it? Oh no, you're gonna be telling jokes. Oh, okay. I guess that's a way to do it. Sure, that's fine.
Oh, let me go back. Oh, I think I lost you.
Oh, there we go. Come on back.
Oh, hold on,
Mm,
hold on.
you're fine. Take your time. I'll
Okay.
sit here and do a little dance.
All right, there we
We're
go.
a
There we go.
toasty ten. Hey, welcome back.
Whew,
Ah,
nervous.
it's funny. I'm pretty sure there's an economist by the name of Hobbs, because I know I've heard Hobbesian as an adjective when people describe like a Hobbesian methodology. Are you familiar with the economist
I
Hobbs?
I am not, because everybody asks. There, I get so many people coming up to me going, "Are you related to Jimmy Hobbs?" And the thing is, Hobbs is my stage name. That's not even my real last name.
Oh, isn't that funny? Isn't that
Mhm.
great? Yeah. The one I usually get for my last name Purvis, my real legal name Purvis, is the G-man who took down Al Capone. And I'm like, yeah,
Oh yeah,
this, yeah, because no, it's no. Or
it's not me.
yeah, it's not
No,
it. Jack Purvis, the midget, or I'm sorry, the little person. I was like, no, that's not me either. Purvis Ellison, that was his first name. That no
yeah,
relation whatsoever.
no relation.
Ah, it's fun. But yeah, so yeah, I look forward to the day of Hobbesian being a variety, an adjective
Mm.
for comedy. So we'll get it in there. We'll jam it in there.
Yeah, yeah,
It could happen. Totally
yeah,
happen.
yeah. Oh
So
sure.
so by contrast, what was the smallest show you ever played? Now
Ooh,
I do specify, telling a friend a joke doesn't count. It has to be a microphone and a stage and some intention there.
I actually, and this wasn't that long ago. This was maybe a year ago, maybe. Um, Went and did a show in Sebring, Florida, and I had done a show there before, but it had gone through, a few different bookers, and we're kind of in a, they talk about pandemic. I think we're in a comedy pandemic. I think there's too many people. Uh, you just said something about, you kind of made mention to it, how, people are taking a microphone and sticking it in a corner of a seedy bar somewhere, and we're going to do comedy. That's the pandemic that's going on. All right. The pandemic of, as long as we got a microphone in a little area in the corner, we don't care where it is. We're going to do comedy here. Okay.
Right.
And they're they're not thinking about what actually it entails to have a successful comedy show. The setup has to be good. That's why, the comedy club I work out of is strictly comedy club. It's not a bar that they turn into a comedy club at 11 o'clock or whatever. But I did a show in Sebring at a restaurant. Done a show there before, had a pretty good crowd. Again, everything comes down to promotion, and there was literally more comics in the audience than audience members.
Oh.
So yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think we had a total of like 4 patrons in the audience.
Ooh.
And but you know what? I I'm there to do a show. I'm there to entertain. I'm getting paid. And at the end of the night, those 4 people actually had a good time.
Good.
And I did a full set. I did a full 45 minutes. Most people would have bailed out after 20 or 20. Matter of fact, even the guy goes, just do whatever, man. We'll just get out of here. I'm like, okay. And that's the kind of show where you actually sit at their table and do comedy. It's like, we're going to get to know each other a little bit better tonight before this night's out. So, and again, you're looking at it going, but I still had a great time, because the worst day of comedy is still the best day of working at Walmart.
Yeah. Yeah, true enough. True enough. I think you got me beat. I don't think I did 4. I think 6 was the smallest.
Wow.
Yeah, but so it was and you're right. There is this really big glut of comedy because bar owners realize that to bring in a band, you got a lot of stuff. You got some people, you got some some background people, you got roadies. Even if you're dealing with just 4 or 5 band members, you're dealing with full kit. You're dealing with all this crap.
Hmm.
Um, as you said, you can just throw a microphone in the corner and then now you've got open mic. You don't even need to do real shows. That's the thing. You can just cycle this open mic and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's rough. It
I've
is
been
rough.
involved in a lot of this stuff lately, and I've been to 3-hour open mics.
Oh,
Okay, 3-hour open mics, and I go, this show should run no longer than an hour and 15 minutes.
yeah.
Hour and 15 minutes, and you talk about bands and stuff. Well, the difference is the bands want money. These open micers, whatever, they're working for nothing.
Right.
They're working for free just
Yeah.
because they want that microphone. They want that mic time. But I'm going, yeah, but what's the standard of the product? What's the quality of the product? I mean, you're working for free in a bar, and half the people aren't paying attention to you.
Right.
So I mean, that's kind of like, it's almost how, I guess I can kind of say I started. I mean, I did all those crappy open mics and stuff like that, but when you if they can learn something from it, great. It's almost like playing a crappy instrument. So when you get your hands on a Fender, you're really good.
Right.
So it's like playing those crappy rooms, the no pay, the smoky bars. So when you get your ass into a real comedy club, like this is this. Wow, okay, I'm playing the Fender.
Yeah.
I'm not playing the cheap copy anymore. So, and I've seen it to where these guys they play those rooms forever, and then when they do come into a real comedy club, they don't know how to handle it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's when you keep training within basically it's karaoke, because I believe karaoke is actually Japanese for empty room or empty chorus or something. The actual word means it. So when you've practiced comedy in essentially an empty room, because open micers, the other comedians don't laugh at you. That's the worst part. You could have
Right?
75 comedians there. You don't have an audience. They're not
No,
going to laugh with you. They're
no,
sitting there
not
thinking
at all.
about their own stuff. I mean, they're just, and you're right. Once you get into that real situation, it tends to freeze up. So do you think it's better when, um, well, I mean, I know a lot of, like, we have a local club here in Maryland, called Magoobies, and they have like a showcase to kind of filter in new talent. So as you said, there's an open mic. It's at an established comedy club, and then over time, they're kind of like, oh, we'll cherry pick these people, or maybe we'll kind of graduate them. Um, is that the only way it works? I mean, can it work at a non-comedy club? I don't want to, you know.
Well, I think it depends. I mean, if that non-comedy club is like taking the initiative to
Right.
say book a weekly comedy show, and they have this one specific night where they're looking for the talent and they're looking for, the up and comers or whatever. And they have that one night a week professional show. Because I've done a ton of those, restaurants that have the monthly comedy show, or the weekly comedy show or whatever. It doesn't always have to be a comedy club. And the way things are now, with social media and everything, people are becoming famous on YouTube, for God's sakes. I mean, they're
Yeah.
not putting in that kind of work anymore where you had to go to LA or New York, to break into the big time. You have a successful YouTube channel or you have a million followers on Twitter or whatever, that kind of, like we had a guy come in. I'm not going to give you his name, but he's a big social media guy,
Hmm.
and he was coming to our club, and the owner of the club called the person who had booked him before and asked, is he funny? And her response is, he sells tickets. So that's where the mindset is now. It's like, you can put butts in seats, and he did. I mean, I never heard of this guy until he came to the club I work for and sold like 220 tickets out of a 250 seat room
Right.
and packed the place. Never heard of him, but again, one of those social media. These guys that are out there now are, have aced the whole social media thing. Forget about material. Material is kind of secondary. They're on social media like crazy, and they're
Right.
perfecting this whole tool that they have and promoting themselves. It's all about promotion, I think, more than anything now. So
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. Now, since you brought up the word pandemic, let's talk about it. I hate, it's so hard for me as a content creator, to figure out the line between, do we talk about it and just get wrapped into everybody else because everybody's talking about it all the time, or do we just go, hey, something weird's happening outside, let's pretend it doesn't happen in here?
well, I saw a comedian years ago, and he brought up the whole thing about, when they tell you, and I can't remember the joke verbatim, but it was something to the effect of, when there's a national emergency, like when there's an earthquake, okay, and there's just the whole city's devastated, or there's a hurricane or something, and just, he goes, they have this emergency thing where they tell you certain things not to do during a national emergency.
Right.
And he goes, no, he goes, one of the things they say not to do is don't start rumors. And he's like, yeah, can you like just, you're walking down the street going, hey man, I heard the Beatles are getting back together, So it's like, don't start any rumors.
Don't start any
And
rumors.
I gotta be honest with you, and I don't mind talking about it to people who I can genuinely have a conversation about it with, instead of them, like, when I tell them my opinion, and I make sure I let them know this is my opinion, doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean I'm wrong. And the same goes for you. Doesn't mean you're right or wrong. But when I give them that opinion, they have a tendency to look at me like I'm like an Amish guy at Best Buy. It's just like, looking around, And my opinion on this, and again, you're probably going to look at me like an Amish guy at Best Buy, but when it comes to, and here's how I'll say this. I think this whole thing is bullshit. Okay, not the virus part of it. The virus part of it is real. I think everything that's being created around it is BS. And the reason I say this, I'll give you a couple of reasons. Is one is from my observation, and again, this is my observation, my opinion, doesn't mean anything to right, wrong, whatever. Is I don't think there's been any consistencies with this thing coming from the so-called experts, if you know what I mean. So that's the big thing with me. There's no consistency with this. It's wear a mask, don't wear a mask. The heat kills it. The heat doesn't kill it. It doesn't attack the young. The young are getting it. So you're hearing all these things. You can't make heads or tails from it. You really can't. And so I, start thinking about certain things or the aspects of this thing. And the number one thing is, let's talk about the mask. Okay. All these disposable masks. Now, people are actually buying masks that they can wash or whatever, reuse, whatever. But for a while there, we had a lot of disposable masks going on. And what I saw was, you see these masks on the ground. I've seen masks on the ground. I've seen masks in public trash cans, disposable masks and stuff like that. And I started thinking, I'm going, now, if this is as deadly as they're saying it is, why aren't these masks being put into biohazard containers and destroyed and burned? Now, damn well they're doing that in the hospitals.
Oh, yeah.
But in the general public, again, I'm seeing these all over the ground, trash cans all over. They're being taken to public landfills, thrown in there. I mean, we're breathing in germs, bacteria, contagions. There's people who may have this, don't know that they have it. They're using those masks. They're dumping those masks. So that's where I'm at with this. Inconsistencies from kind of a lot of different aspects. I mean, the mask thing is the big one to me, and
Right.
I haven't worn a mask since day one, but I do compromise. What I do is when I go out in public, when I go to the store, any place public, I just wear a thong and some combat boots and nothing else. And
That's fair.
it seems to be working. People are keeping their distance.
Yeah, no, that's definitely going to work. That's definitely going to work. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving us all that visual. I mean, nothing wrong with it, Johnny. You're an attractive person. I'm comfortable with myself to say that you're a very attractive man. So, I mean, thong and a combat boots, I would say something a little more comfortable, at least on the footwear. But
Well,
the
it's a
thong
really
is
hot
perfect.
summer
I
right
mean,
now too, so.
yeah, that's true. I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
You gotta, wow, that is
But the
interesting.
other, and I'll give you one more little thing about this whole thing is, last year, and it's like George Carlin said years ago. He goes, I like to do this moronic thing called thinking, and I like to do this moronic thing called research, where I read beyond the headline, or you know what I mean, or the title. And I found this out through my research that last year, 25% of the world's population, 1.8 billion people, were infected with tuberculosis.
Wow.
And 1.5 million of those people died. And we didn't seem to have a problem with that,
Yeah.
And again, when I say these things, I'm not minimizing the virus. I'm not. I know it's real. It's out there. But what exactly is it? Is it just another strain of the flu? Are they, fudging numbers? I mean, it's already out in the report I saw the other day that they didn't post the negative test. They just posted the positive. I don't know if you saw that article recently. It was the facility was just posting the positive test and not the negative test. And so they're kind of taking some heat for it and stuff like that. So, but there's just so many different things going on. Every week it seems like they're changing, the strategy. They're changing, what they're telling us. And it's just like, so what is it? And so that's why I say what I say. And again, I get people, just, shake their heads and look at me and like, if you want to have a conversation about it, great. But if you don't want to listen to my opinion, and again, I can't reiterate enough. I'm not saying I'm right or I'm wrong. This is just how I feel about it. So
Sure. No, I think it's important to have conversations about it, because I think so much it is a lack of consistency. You know, we're looking at you know, should we be sheltering in place? Should we, you know, yes, wash your hands. Wash your hands seemed to be really prevalent at the beginning. Washing your hands isn't so much now. Now it's about wearing a mask. I think the simplicity portion of it is so people don't snap. Like, I used to work in a lab that manufactured test kits for stuff that we haven't seen in America in a long time, like dengue fever and rickettsia and stuff that's like, you know, it's not here. And I remember we had a clean room. It was actually a level 4 containment room where the people went in there in full suits, you know, because they're dealing with live bacteria. So even though dengue isn't a problem here in the United States, they had to deal with it. We had an autoclave and everything. And I think when you approach most Americans and go, you know, this is what a hospital does, and we'd like you to mimic the same thing, people are going to snap, because they just don't, there just isn't. I mean, look at our hospitals, look at how much money they go through for a single procedure. They throw away everything. They throw away their clothes, they throw away
Mhm.
their gowns. I mean, they throw away everything. And you're talking about massive expenses that most people can't handle. So
Right.
I think that a lot of the information that we're getting is boiled down for simplicity's sake. And it's really hard. It's really hard for people that want that rationale, want that conversation, and just go, you know, don't treat me like a child. Teach me about this. What do I need to know?
Exactly.
What are the risk factors? So, it's
Yeah, because
interesting.
I kind of hear it amongst my friends that they kind of say the same thing. They're like, every week it's something different coming down the pike. Like, okay, now we got to do this. So, okay, now we got to do that. And when you're doing that to people, it's almost like they're not given a chance to kind of get into the groove of going, what do you want us to do? We will
Right.
gladly do it, but stop changing the routine. Because when
Right.
you change the routine, then people take time to get into that routine. And by the time they get used to getting into the routine, it's another routine. And it's
Right.
just screwing with people's heads, man. It's screwing with their mental well-being, which is, I think, as important, if not more important, than their physical well-being.
Yeah.
Because the other side of that is, we're telling people to stay home, stay home, stay locked up, but we're going to release 8,000 convicts out of jail because we're worried about the coronavirus, but you stay in your house. So it's just wacky, man. And I really can't get behind it, and kind of be like, yes, I'm going to wear my mask. And yes, I mean, I'll go into a store, and if a mask is required, I will wear one.
Right.
Starting Monday here where I live, every store is going to be pretty much requiring you to wear a face. No problem. I will compromise.
Right.
I'm not a fan of it, um, but I will do it. And I do go in the store and I do keep my distance, stand in line at the thing, keep my distance. So I'm doing those things. But then it's all about, they throw us another little loop. Like, now you got to do this, now you got to do this. And it's like, again, people are like, well, they're confused.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's right. I mean, you got to stick to some consistent, you know, because when you tell us one day that carrots are good for us and the next day you say that carrots aren't the greatest for us, it's like,
Yeah.
well, now you've given me two competing ideas, and it's like, well, where's a good starting point? So that is frustrating. Um,
Yeah.
Now we have a few minutes left here because I'm not paying for the Pro Zoom. I'm cheap here at the Toasty Tentacle Show. Bum, 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 bum. A couple of things I wanted to check with. You said the furthest away you've ever done comedy. You did comedy on another continent. Is that right?
So actually, I've taken 2 trips to Africa. I went there in 2018, and then recently this year in February and March. And comedy is quite the thing over there. They do. I was in Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Nairobi, and then I was in Mombasa and Malindi. Malindi's a coastal town. Nairobi's the capital. So Nairobi and Mombasa, which are big cities, is where all the action kind of is with that. But in Nairobi, they do this thing called the Churchill Show, and it's huge over there.
Oh wow.
And they have a few of the African comedians. One guy is out of Nigeria. His name is Basket Mouth. Brilliant guy, funny guy. Very much like intellectual comedy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he's coming out like a machine gun, rip roaring funny. His stuff makes you think, which I love. I love that kind of comedy.
Sure.
and then there's another female comic who's pretty big over there right now. And but there is a comedy scene over there,
That's
and
awesome.
surprisingly, and I even tried to get into the Churchill show just to see it, and you can't even. It's like 1,000 tickets, and you can't even get in. I mean, it's
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
Oh, it's packed all the time, and it's been going on. I think they've been doing the Churchill show for about 15 years over there, or whatever. But yeah, comedy's running huge. I wanted to do comedy, but I started to kind of look at what they're doing,
Hmm.
and number one is they speak in their native language when they're doing stand-up comedy. They will do, speak in English from time to time, but their comedy is really based on the region that they're in.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean? So like, it's like if I go over there and I start talking about like, hey, in Bradenton, Florida, you know what I mean? They're not going to quite get it.
A lot of confusion in the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Where
So,
is Florida?
but there is a comedy scene over there, and
That's
they
awesome.
do have the comedy festival in Johannesburg, South Africa, and they have several throughout the continent and stuff. But I'm hoping my third trip. I've been in touch with the Churchill show, so I'm hoping my third trip. I'm not sure when I'm going to be taking that, but definitely the third trip. I want to try to get on stage somewhere in Africa and do stand-up comedy.
That's awesome. That's
Hmm.
truly amazing. Very
Hmm.
cool. Very cool. So, granted, we're all going through this global pandemic, and that kind of shuts down everything and it limits everything. Where do we find you until things open up and get back to normal?
I'm still, I'm on Facebook. I'm not too active on social media.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you know all the details, but the reason I did go to Africa is because I met a woman there. And that's who I've gone to visit her twice. We're hoping
Oh.
the visa application that we did has been approved, but everything's been closed down because of what's been going on.
Mhm.
So she's not able to get her interview to get the visa to come over here.
Right.
So we're going to be waiting for that, will definitely happen. So we do have a Instagram page. It's called Indie Art Africa, and
Indie
her and
art.
I are basically, this is a little business that we're starting up, selling handmade practical items, like purses and wraparounds and necklaces and things like that. And basically, we take a little percentage of the money and throw it back into the communities over there where she is and stuff, because she's very involved in her community with, with the church, and she's an RN, so she's very active in that stuff. And then you can catch me on Facebook as well, just Johnny Hobbs, and
Okay.
you'll see me on there.
And
Not
we'll
too
have.
active on it, because I always looked at social media as being kind of a platform to, self promotion and stuff like that. And now it's all just, you're an idiot, you don't know, I hate you, and
Social media has reflected some of the ugliest portions of our society. Yes,
it's really exposing us for who we are.
it
So,
really is. It really
hmm.
is.
Hmm.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. You've told us about some amazing lessons in comedy that we'll be able to use once the world goes back to normal. Congratulations on you and your friend from Africa.
Thank
Um,
you.
and yeah, we look forward to checking in with you in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just must say, Sean, you're looking good.
Oh, thank you.
Uh,
Thank you. Thank
you're
you. Thank you. Please, please.
and you're, I was going to say it at the beginning, but I still, the short time that we worked together on some of the sketches and stuff, I think you're absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
You're great off the cuff, and I hope that we will definitely try to work together again in the near future.
You better believe it.
So,
All right, Johnny Hobbs, we'll be talking to you soon.
all right, Sean. Thank you, buddy.
Peace out.
Bye.